We spend a lot of time on Earth wanting things. Money, popularity, the latest technology. But once you stop looking for what you want, you just might find everything you need. Down to Earth is a romance series that follows our main character, Cade. Cade's life is less than ideal. While he has a job that he likes enough, a home, and a spectacular and incredibly calm cat, which is harder than it seems, where Cade is really struggling is more the emotional side to his life. Where, as he puts it, I really don't believe that I'll ever be able to find my heart again. Cade struggles with self-love. We see that he often uses relationships to try and distract himself, as we see him throw away a relationship in the very first episode. Spectacular. However, his life changes when an alien girl crashes down in his backyard, like life normally does. This is a wonderful series that if you haven't read, you probably should. Not just for the video, though I do like seeing big numbers. No, because this series is quite spectacular and deserves as much attention as it can get. Even if I don't understand some things like what tapers are. Never mind. It's not that confusing, I'm just dumb. I haven't made a full video on Down to Earth. I've talked a little bit about it in my self-love video. However, with the first season of Down to Earth completed, and me on a recent kick of covering themes and topics in webtoon series, I wanted to take a stab at a series that I've been a fan of for quite some time. As I mentioned, the series really likes to talk about self-love and self-worth, especially with our main character, Cade. Cade might appear to be a hipster, and he might be, I'll be honest, the word hipster has lost all meaning to me at this point. But Cade is quite broken. Let's get into a bit of Cade's past before checking out more of his present. Cade was a bright child. Sure, a little quiet, but still bright, happy, and goofy. That was until one person, Delilah. Now, it's nothing weird for friends to influence each other. I cannot count how many times I've tried to make my friends read webtoon, and how many times I've failed at that. But the point still stands, friendship is a two-way street, introducing each other into things that the other might find cool. However, the problem is when they start to lose themselves. Cade, once a bright and goofy child, starts to fade. Ellie describes it as his color fading, as Cade starts to become more and more like Delilah. Getting his ears pierced, getting tattoos, he would spend all of his time with her or even just talking about her. Cade started to become someone else. It could be that Cade became who he wanted to be, however, I doubt it's just that. Cade started to become someone Delilah would approve of, someone Delilah would love. And I'm hesitant on how this works. Look, change isn't always a bad thing. Many people change for the better, becoming someone they can be proud of. However, when you change for one person, you change who you are for one person. One person. One person that can turn out to be a bad person. One person that could leave or pass away. And then what? Then what happens? What happens when that one person you changed for isn't there for you anymore? Unsurprisingly, this isn't coming from pure speculation, as we see that Delilah did leave Cade. Why is still a mystery. It could be that she simply didn't want to be with him anymore. It could involve Canon. This dude seems to hate the fact that Cade and Delilah might have romantic feelings toward each other, much less date each other. There are many reasons why Delilah could have left Cade, but whatever it is, it doesn't change the fact that Delilah left Cade, and left him broken. Cade still very clearly harbors feelings towards Delilah. However, with Delilah now gone, Cade is missing a chunk of his life. Remember, he defined himself by his relationship with Delilah. So now that she's gone, it's like a piece of him is missing. We see him try to fill that void with other women. as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, but it doesn't work, as his relationships only last a week or two, and aren't really a benefit to either party. Even his childhood friend Ellie gets some action, and I'm so sorry that I phrased it that way. Now, something I should mention is that Cade is quite the introvert. Social engagements drain him out very quickly. Relatable. Cade often chooses to be alone, typically wanting to stay home and talk to no one but his cats. Yet again, relatable. However, you have to understand that choosing to be alone often isn't necessarily a sign of being a lonely person. Since just because they're often alone doesn't mean they don't have people to help and support them. But Cade doesn't. He lightly figured that since people drain him so much, the less people around him, the better. Leading Cade to have no one in his life, to the point where he even says he has no friends. And I'm not sure that he's exaggerating, as he's never really reached out to anyone. Never really talked to anyone from his past other than Ellie. Who he was so wrapped in one person that Cade lost who he was. He even admits to being lonely, someone who hates socializing and people. Which also brings us to our other main character, Zadia. Zadia. Zay. Alright, anyways, Zay is a bit different from Cade. Yeah, sure, she's an alien and he's a human, but it's a little more than that. And like I said before, to know how she is now, we need to know a little bit about her past. Now, Zay's past is a bit of a mystery in the series, and I might make a video theorizing on her past, but what we do know is a little worrying. In Zay's words, I wasn't allowed out. I couldn't talk to anyone outside. I was told different things. Once someone told me I was important to Zodia. Another person told me I wasn't. Someone else said I had to be protected from others. I was told Zodia was dangerous, even though it didn't appear so. Zodia was a prison to Zay. To the point where she needed to run away, she needed to be free. Which is why she crash lands on Earth, because Earthlings are apparently quite similar to them. However, Zay is a bright person. She's a very social person, loving that engagement. As we hear her explain, I want the ability to socialize whenever I want. I know you do not enjoy being social often, but I believe if I were an Earthling, I'd be the kind that looks for that interaction with others. Zay was locked away from interacting with anyone, when she really longed for it. Meanwhile, Cade is very much not that, but he still didn't have a network that's very important. Both of these characters experience loneliness, and what I like about it is that it shows that both people who hang out, who love interaction, love socializing, love doing things, and people who hate hanging out, hate socializing, hate going out and doing things, that they both can experience loneliness. As when Zay was explaining how she was feeling lonely, even Cade related to it. I completely understand what you're feeling. I mean, I was so alone. I felt a similar way. Down to Earth is about a lot. It's a cute romance story about an extroverted alien forming a connection with an introverted human, but it's also a story of two very different people overcoming loneliness. Sure, they have each other, but a lot of their conversations, a lot of them hanging out, a lot of their heart-to-hearts, and even in this moments, when they try to throw away their objects from their past, for Cade it's a box containing pictures of Delilah, and for Zay it's a box from her clothing from Zodia. These past memories have caused them strife. Cade is still actively hurt by his past, by Delilah's abandonment of him. And like I said before, it makes sense. Relationships are very involved, especially romantic ones. But Cade fully changed into someone Delilah would love and approve of. So throwing away his box is basically acknowledging that a piece of him has forever abandoned him. a piece of him that he loved to the point where he wanted to change. Meanwhile, Zay's box is a reminder of her past imprisonments, a past where she was sheltered away, where she was important but not, where she can see Zodia but never experience it. A place that if she left, it would cause problems for their future, or so she was told. Zay doesn't exactly have a ton of pleasant memories of her birth planet, but it's where she was born. It's hard to simply forget all of that, because all of that is why she became who she became. It's a difficult thing. Simply acknowledging that you're lonely is difficult, but trying to overcome that loneliness is even harder. However, we see two people finding each other. Two very different people becoming close enough to share secrets, to cry in front of each other, to be comforted by each other. I don't really consider myself a lonely person, but perhaps you might. And while reading over this series, I think it's become clear on how these characters seemingly overcome that, and that's with trust. Both of our main characters trust each other enough to rely on one another. They trust each other enough to tell secrets, to cry in front of each other, to be there to support and comfort the other. As when you trust one another, you don't need to fake anything. It doesn't become exhausting to be around a person, or it doesn't need to feel like you need to try around them. It just feels freeing, liberating. It feels like you're home. But that's all for today. So, like always, thank you for watching, and I hope I'll see you next week. Take care.